Do you actually have to be on cocaine to be on this podcast?
It's a great day to be a Wildcat!
Cocaine.
Durfing.
What's up, everybody? You are listening to yet another edition of Cocaine Willie. This week, we're joined by good friend and recent five-star fan commit to Kansas State University, our good friend and recurring guest, Robbie Triano. Robbie, how does it feel knowing that you are no longer bound to the BYU Cougars and are officially the five-star fan commit, recommitted to the Wildcats?
Well, first of all, it's an absolute honor and a pleasure to be on the show, and I hope none of us get canceled because usually that's what happens during our show is somebody says something ridiculous. Well, we are here, and I am very happy to be a Kansas State fan. It's been a long time coming. You guys knew that's where my heart was, and now I'm here. Sorry, BYU. You're great people as well, but I like alcohol and these guys, so thank you.
Speaking of, what is your poison of choice these days?
Usually I'm a beer guy. Anything that has alcohol in it, really, that's my thing. But if I had a go-to cocktail, I'm just an old-fashioned man. That's really my go-to thing.
Good man. Good man. What's your old-fashioned? What does it consist of? Do you have any additional flair that you add to it, or do you pretty much stick with the staples?
Oh, I stick with the staples. I am really just like Mac DeMarco had a quote. He's like, I don't care about the alcohol you're giving me. I don't care about an IPA. I don't care if it has alcohol in it. That's all I care about. So that's really my form of consumption. Like if there's a good IPA, I'll drink it. If there's a nice little cider, I'll do that as well. But really, I'm just looking for what will make me feel the happiest. I
didn't have Mac DeMarco quote being on our bingo card for tonight, but I love it. As a Mac DeMarco fan, I got to see him play in Austin. Back in 2017, he played at Stubbs Outdoor in Austin, which was a great time.
He's the reason I started smoking cigarettes, so I stopped. But thank you, Mike. Yeah, I stopped a while ago, but he was like, "Oh, these are cool," and then I got great.
Are you also going to put out an album that's 8 hours long?
Yes, that's coming out after my next announcement. That'll be that.
Very nice. Very nice.
There's no more announcements. There can be no more announcements.
That's the thing is Kansas State. It's just my home. I'm no longer doing the transfer portal thing. It was annoying.
All right.
To be frank, I hated having all these people reach out to me, which was nice for my ego. But Kansas State is where I wanted to be the whole time.
So for those who don't know, I mean, just walk us through the commitment process because I'm also curious. I'm sure you did hear from some other schools. What were some of those other schools that reached out to you, and then in general? Just walk us through what that commitment process looked like for you.
Yeah, it was just a lot of random people going in my DMs being like, hey, man, love to have you. And every word was like spelled wrong just because I don't know. The people on the internet are scary, scary people. So I had a lot of people from Houston, had a lot of people from UCF reach out to me as well. I had this one person from UConn who was just relentless. It's like, I'm not going to go to UConn, dude. Like,
they're not even in the Big 12 yet.
Yeah, and there's no football that I care about for UConn. So then it was really just BYU and Kansas State. And I think, like, honestly, to the BYU side, they were the overwhelming amount of people who reached out to me just because there are so many of them. And online, they are just an incredible fan base in that regard. But, like, I did some soul searching, and it was like, why do I love Kansas State? Why did I, like, feel so attached to them last year when, we like kind of came in contact and you guys won the Big 12 championship. And it's like, I grew up a Michigan State fan, and I think of like what I love about Michigan State when I was growing up. And it had to do with the culture side of things. Like I love that tough mentality. You're not the number one in the conference. You're not necessarily the big dogs there, but you're the ones with the best culture, and you have that scrappy attitude about you, and you work to get to where you are. And that's what I love about Kansas State. Like, it feels like, even in the new Big 12, you guys aren't going to be the richest of the riches. You're not going to have all of the money like other universities and other donors are going to have. But I feel like there's such a pride with this school and with this fan base and just an overall like set culture here for success in every sport. Really good leadership. Gene Taylor, an amazing, amazing athletic director. When I got to work with him at Big 12 Radio, like you could just tell he knew who he was. He knew what Kansas State was. He knew the identity. And then you have Chris Kleiman, you have Jerome Tang. I think those are like just such amazing leaders that you would want to have. So there's been so many factors, but I kept going back to that is the people, the culture, and then that family term. To get all cheesy about all of this is really stupid. It's just like fandom, but it's just like that's why I felt so attached to Kansas State, because of those things.
What kind of thoughts did you have running through your brain when you got the video of Chris Kleiman speaking to you directly?
I had to grab a towel. It was just moist everywhere. It was just like, thank God. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I was thinking, how was I going to announce make my announcement? And when that came through, I was like, that's perfect. And it came in with about like 4 hours before I was making my announcement. So I was sweating. So when that came in, it just shows he's a great guy. Chris Kleiman, amazing human being.
I mean, and I think it goes to show, how badly we needed you back. It's been a rough couple months with K-State. I mean, thinking about almost having Jerome Tang leave, and which obviously basketball is kind of playing a big part. But if there's one thing about K-State that you're looking forward to kind of embracing here as you start kind of getting back into the swing of things, what's that maybe one thing you're looking forward to?
Well, definitely is watching Avery Johnson play football. I think that being a part of this fan base for that moment, because I think there's no way that it goes bad for him. I think he has such an incredible talent, and he's set up in such an amazing spot with what the culture has been built with Chris Kleiman. And then you see the weapons around him in the backfield and what he can do. Like that is a huge reason to care about Kansas State, even if you are not a Kansas State fan, is because you have that person to root for, and Avery Johnson. But besides that, I just feel like everything is really set. Like, I feel like there's so many amazing things going on. I feel like Chris Kleiman is set there. I feel like that culture has been set. Jerome Tang, he may get flirted by all these other places, but it feels like Gene Taylor is willing to pay and do what he has to do to keep him there. And I think even though last year didn't go the way it was supposed to go after, an amazing first year for Jerome Tang, I only see good things. I only see that program going up. And in the new Big 12, I feel like Kansas State, like I talked about earlier, they don't have the riches as everybody else, but I feel like they can be a powerhouse program in every major sport. You think about women's basketball, they're already there. You think about football, they're already there. You think about basketball, there's going to be more like talent in there with Arizona coming in. But I still think Kansas State can be a top 5, top 6 program in basketball. So I feel like Kansas State all around in the major sports is there. And that's what I'm most excited to be a part of. I just want something to root for. And it's not me just bandwagoning. I just really love the fans and the culture. And I really need to learn how to do that thing. Am I doing it?
So that does bring us. We did have a listener question that was not necessarily a question, but it did come from the one and only Allison Renner on Twitter. It's not a question. I just want the three of you to lead an instructional segment teaching Robbie how to Wabash.
Yeah, I need to know what to do. Is it just you punch in the air
hard with the squares? But
me and Matt can. Don't we start side to side first? It starts with the clap. Well, hold on. Let's sync this up.
Okay.
You're going this way.
We need to play the audio.
Yeah,
so
someone get the audio.
This will probably.
So there's like a lot of things here. I thought it was
it's
just
really only it's the
all
first
right, punch
step
on 3. 1, 2, 3. I thought that was it. No,
you start with the clap. You go to your compadres to the side.
I like this.
I'm dying.
Yeah, it's like a workout.
The main question for the Wabash is: are you a clapper? Are you a fist pumper? Are you a row the boat guy?
Nobody's a row the boater unless you're under the age of 23.
So that's the cutoff then. Is the row the boat is 23?
Pretty much. I mean, nobody I know rows the boat. And I didn't really see it until probably 2 or 3. Pretty much.
Whoa.
What the hell was that?
Was that me?
That was me, but it wasn't from my computer.
Well, what is the why is it bad to row the boat? What is bad about rowing the boat?
There's nothing bad about it. It's just different. It's different for different age groups.
It's a little out of the ordinary. I mean, we've always had. I feel like I've always been like a fist pumper.
That's what I want to be. I want to be that.
Yeah,
Fist pumper. Yeah.
Was kind of I would alternate between clapping and fist bump.
So there's no order to this. It's just whatever you want.
No, the only order is you do the opposite of the person's next to you.
Yeah.
So at the beginning, when you're going side to side, like you start facing that person and then you go away, and then ideally you're going.
It is an extremely long process. Jerome Tanks talked about it, how you kind of have to be in shape to be in the Wabash.
It's an ab workout.
Yeah, it does get, and then it gets to a certain point where it slows down, and you embrace da-na-na-na. I mean, that really sets it off, in my opinion. That is the best part of the Wabash. You're muted, Bob.
At the end, there's the big KSU chant, which is phenomenal. Also, we have 69 viewers right now. I'd just like to.
Oh my God.
For those of you
cut the stream.
For those of you who are viewing this live, just do us a quick favor and like and subscribe. Like the video and subscribe on YouTube while we're.
Hey, I promise there will be no basketball games showing up on this stream tonight.
Oh,
nothing.
Also true.
You can't get any more shadow banned than we are right now.
That was the most illegal stream of all time. We were just airing basketball games while talking. And I think the Big 12 game was fine with Kansas State and Iowa State, but then we started airing an NBA game.
The Mavs game.
The Mavs
game. We were just chilling. We were just hanging out, and it's like, oh, wait, we're not even live anymore. Why? Oh, okay.
Guys,
Wabashing is part of the fandom. So I know we talked. I wasn't a part of it because, technical difficulties. But obviously they asked you what drove you to K-State. And as the first commitment of the fandom, you are our first recruit in the recruiting class of 2024. Being a 5-star, where did this talent come from? Where you earned your 5th star? How did you become the 5-star fan?
Yeah, a lot of it came from just relentless tweeting. That's really it. Like if you're just online, you have that presence and you're like, come on team, let's go. And you're just like every big play, you're there, you're gassing everybody up throughout the week. You're like, hey, what about this, guys? And everybody's liking and retweeting. That's mostly it. But like during the game, I have a relentless focus. I get very involved and very into the game. Like I'm not waffling. I'm not like just this bandwagon. I kind of am a bandwagon fan, but not a bandwagon as in like, I just check in when they're good. It's like, I will ride and die with this team. That's why like being a BYU fan last year for football was ass. I hated it. It was not fun at all. And then for basketball, that was fun. That was a lot of fun. But like for this, I'm going to be living and dying every single play. And I think that's what gives me that 5th star.
So at what kind of fan are you? You said you ride or die. Are you like the pessimist? Are you the super positive sunshine pumper? What are we going to get as a fan base
or the
with
realist?
Or a realist? I mean, what are you? What kind of position are you playing in this fan base?
I think this one I might be the sunshine pumper. I think that might be me because I'm a Detroit sports fan, and that takes up all the pessimism that I could ever have because I think everything sucks all the time. But for here, I feel like I'm going to be the one when everybody's panicked and you all like have seen these moments before. Like if a game is going south and you're in your head are like, oh, this reminds me of this moment like 10 years ago or later. Like I'm going to be that one be like, hey guys, like everything's good. Like, don't worry. So I'm going to be the person gassing everybody up in this situation. That's what I can offer you at home, the fan.
I like what you have to offer. And with that, I do want to throw it to you for any additional questions you have for us, the tried and true legacy K-State fans of the group here. What questions do you have about K-State fandom or K-State sports in general that we can help answer for you?
Yeah, I want to know the good and the bad because I feel like I've been doing some catching up on Kansas State. And like you mentioned it before, it was not looking good before I was committed because of a lot of things that happened in the portal. right now. I was gassing Kansas State up right now, saying how good everything is. Like, what should I be worried about as a Kansas State fan in the current moment and long term? Like, what is on my radar that I should make me more pessimistic than I said I wasn't going to be?
Are we going to have a basketball team? I mean, that's kind of
Is it that bad? Is it really that bad?
It's
Listen,
sus.
the portal's been kicking our ass this year.
God.
It's bad, brother. It's bad. You know, when we asked for this too, kind of. We wanted the big names. We wanted them to, you know, we wanted to be that top echelon team in the Big 12, and you kind of have to go to the big names in the portal, and we're whiffing. It's kind of an habitual thing the last few years under Tang. You know, the 5-star guys, the top end portal guys. Not saying the portal guys that we're getting aren't bad and can't complement this team, which if you want to hear that whole spiel, listen to last week's episode. We kind of break that down. But man, oh man, we're missing at a high clip on the guys that we want. And, you know, some people will tell you that we don't want them and that they're not really misses because they don't fit or this, that, or the other. But we're missing Clifford and Morey. I mean, that shit is bad, brother. It's bad.
That seemed like a subtle like hint that you hated what I said last week on the show.
No, I didn't hate it, but you know, we're just on two opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to that, and that's okay. That's K-State fandom.
Probably my one thing is there's always one point in your season where you will be disappointed. Just in general, you know, it's going to be one game that you're just like, these guys were terrible.
I think of Tulane, that Tulane game with Adrian Martinez. That game, that's when I jumped on the bandwagon a little bit, and I was like, this wasn't supposed to go like this.
Yeah, the Tulane game is a great example of that. And I stayed up. I was in Europe, and I stayed up until like 3 a.m. to watch that game too. So that was fantastic. But the Oklahoma game the next week, definitely pop that one up. Or, you know, like beating Michigan State in the Sweet 16 and then the Florida Atlantic game in the Elite 8. I know I put that in there. But
what a dig.
I know. Well,
it's
you know
okay.
what? K-State. He's K-State now. So, he's, you know. And then, like, historically, 2012 Baylor and
98 A&M.
98 A&M. Then
what was it? The Marshall game in 2003.
That one sucked.
Yeah. So there's always, you know, the one thing of being a K-State fan. I think we've all embraced it at one point. Of it's hard to reach the top, especially with K-State. I mean, when they do, it's special. But we just kind of haven't gotten over the hump of, you know, being in the hunt. Maybe this year, you know, who knows? Because Avery and you know, Dylan Edwards coming in, everybody. But that's one thing you always have to kind of keep in your pocket is just, you know, for the great things this university provides, there is one giant kick in the nuts at some point that happens, and you just have to embrace the pain.
Yeah, I would just echo what Matt said. There's always going to be some sort of criminally disappointing thing that happens that just the level of disappointment is immeasurable and sticks with you for years and years and decades and decades. But I would rather have consistently competitive teams across those major sports, kind of like what you were saying when you said why you committed to K-State as a fan. I would rather be right in the mix in men's basketball, women's basketball, football, and competing for conference championships than, you know, having one good team that's really, really good at one thing and not have kind of the bandwidth across all of the sports where, for the most part, you're at least decent. You're at least in the mix in most of those sports. As an example, K-State track and field, the head coach of K-State track and field today just announced that he's retiring, and has multiple national champion high jumpers and Eric Kennard and a bunch of other people. And he's, competing for championships, has him right there in the mix, and competing with the Texases of the world for conference titles and things like that in track and field and cross country. So I would love to continue to have that level of success. And again, to your point, Robbie, a lot of that goes back to Gene Taylor, and Gene Taylor has done a really damn good job of finding coaches who have been able to adapt to the new landscape of the transfer portal and the NIL, and coaches who have invested a lot into not just K-State, but also the community, and making sure that the community is supporting those athletics as well. But yeah, I mean, K-State's awesome, and you're going to get kicked in the nuts, like Matt said, but it's going to be worth it.
And you have to embrace the history, because if you're going to be a Twitter fan, and our biggest rival is KU, and their number one sticking point is we ain't won shit. They'll say that, and you got to learn to embrace that there's no national titles in this trophy case over here. It sucks to say that, but you just got to learn to embrace that. And those are probably the only negative things about being a K-State fan. Realistically, we're the top of the heap when it comes to being a fan base, because it's tight knit. We're online constantly. We're nasty people too. We can get nasty, get in there, elbow deep. So
in the top of the heap when we're looking at the new Big 12, at least in football and some other sports. So you're at least in the top 5 in most of those sports, which feels really great looking at the future.
And you can bring soaking with you from your BYU time.
No, it's Durfin. It's Durfin season over here. I'm leaving soaking to the Wolves. Are you serious? Come on. I was tired of soaking. That's why I came here. No.
Rookie mistake. My bad.
No, but I think you guys bring up a great point, and there was a lot of questions I was going to ask. I was going to ask about the fan base, but it feels like you guys covered that, like how loyal and how much you guys care. It seems like you guys do have an incredible fan base, and if you guys look at the school pride you have, like look at everybody here. Like you guys, I graduated in 2018, so I graduated. What is that? Six-ish years ago. I don't know if you guys graduated around that time, a little bit afterwards, but like the fact that you guys have this much school spirit after leaving this, like being as like far removed from your university as that, like that kind of shows how amazing the fan base like you guys have. If you were to describe the best parts and the worst parts about the fan base, what would you say?
The best part's probably the loyalty, like you're saying, and kind of having the ride or dies. And we've done a lot of podcasts recently as part of the College Huddle. Now we've had a lot of podcasts reach out to us and kind of ask for our story of how we became fans. Yeah. Shout out to the College Huddle. And a lot of us have similar, like Matt and I both have roots in Kansas for generations now. Like I'm a 6th generation Kansan. Being part of the K-State community is just kind of in my blood, and it's been inherited for generations now at this point. So I would say the loyalty is probably the best part about the fan base, because again, it's a fan base that hasn't won a national championship in anything other than individual track and field awards and crops judging and bass fishing, I think. And Classy Cats have won national championships as recently as this year. I think they're back-to-back champs. The Classy Cats are, the dance squad, the pom squad. But you have to have a certain degree of loyalty to be a in the weeds fan the way that we are for a team that's never won a national title. So, or I guess an institution that's never won a national title, with multiple teams that have never won a national title. So I'd say that's probably the optimistic side, the good side of it. The
question though, what can you go back to the Classy Cats part? What is that?
The Classy Cats Pom Squad are back-to-back national titles.
Oh, dude. Let's go.
I just wish they were NCAA sanctioned.
I'm gonna make that my goal to make that happen. I need to see some Classic Cats footage. This is incredible.
I think the toxic parts of the fan base is just, it's the toxic parts of any fan base. It's Twitter. It's got dudes that live in their basements, or 60-year-old men that are tweeting at recruits who are 18.
So that's everybody.
But that's everybody. And Bruce Weber would have you believe that it's just at K-State based on his outgoing press conference he had after he was mutually parted ways with at K-State. But, it is what it is.
Did he say it in the most hoarse voice possible? These guys just aren't doing very good.
I think the fan says you're really loyal, but Barry.
He
Sounds
was
like
the most annoying person to interview ever. He seems like a good guy, but oh my God, his voice, I wanted to turn him off. Okay.
he got throat punched by Francis Ngannou a couple times, and that's what happens. I mean, the loyalty I think is huge. I mean, I think it's for a lot of fan bases, right? You know, we're biased. You know, for me, I wear K-State stuff a pretty good amount, and even out like on my client sites with work, you know, and I do it just to kind of promote the brand almost. I mean, some people don't know who K-State is. I mean, I grew up in New York, and it's like when I was growing up and wearing purple and all that, like nobody knew what Kansas State was at the time. And I think the big thing, especially when we were growing up, you know, a lot of the population who loves college football and college basketball, I mean, in the late 90s, early 2000s, the only thing you could watch is what's on network TV instead of going on ESPN Plus now and being able to catch all of these different schools at, you know, in the click of a button. For us, I mean, it's almost the lavender has kind of been a big point that, you know, from a branding perspective, I get a lot of people when I wear like lavender or things like that have just like Kansas State, you know, that's awesome. Like, I remember going to the NCAA tournament last year and wearing the lavender jersey and the first round, and like people were like, holy crap, that's amazing. Like lavender, all this. So, you know, they've done a really good job with branding for us, which has been very helpful. The most negative part of the fan base for me, as Bob said, every fan base is toxic. I think we have to always remember we're talking about 18 to 22-year-old athletes, students. I mean, people who are in shows to go to K-State. I do think there's opportunities to maybe calm that down a little bit. It'll never happen. I'm not going to preach to the choir, but and I think all of us are guilty of it at one point or another. You know, we forget that these guys and girls, they choose to come to Kansas State University, and we have to be prideful of that no matter what. If they have a bad game, it is what it is. I think that's something that we can always improve on as a fan base, just understanding that piece.
The one thing I will say, though, Matt, is people in New York found out who K-State was in the 1997 Fiesta Bowl against the Syracuse Orange and Donovan McNabb.
That is true. Yeah.
Beat him 35-18.
I'm going to go a little bit opposite of what you guys are saying. Matt says that it's a recognizable brand and stuff, but Robbie, you're in Chicago, right?
Yep, correct.
Chicago, Midwest. Some people debate that, whatever. But
no, we're Midwest. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, out in here, Ohio, people would say
Chicago's
that
like Midwest. The capital of the Midwest.
Yeah. Listen, but you come, especially where you're at. I mean, I wear my K-State stuff. The purple is rocking. Not a lot of people recognize it. I'm going to be honest. I get a lot of Northwestern comments, and I don't like it. So that's something that you might have to fight through, especially being in Chicago. Northwestern, don't like that. But other than that, it's a great thing. To don the purple is an honor, really. It really is an honor.
No, and I'm happy you said that because I went to a school called Grand Valley State University. We're D2. Nobody knows what the hell Grand Valley State University is unless you are a true sicko. That's where Brian Kelly got his start. So that's kind of where people know that from. But besides
what
that,
are they,
like,
baby blue and black?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, more like baby blue and black and white. But like I lived in DC and East Coast elitist over there. Every time I told someone I went to Grand Valley, they were like, "Oh, you went to community college?" It's like, no, I did not. I went to a normal school. So I highly like. I don't think Kansas. I think people know who Kansas State is. But I can familiar side, like I can relate to not being the school that everybody knows, everybody wants to be or admires. Like I love the gritty aspect of Kansas State. That makes
sense. If he got his start there, then that was before he killed a videographer at Notre Dame too.
Correct. Yes.
Correct. Okay.
Hold on, you're thinking of a different Kelly.
No, I'm thinking of Brian Kelly.
Is that where I thought that was Chip Kelly?
Brian Kelly killed a videographer at Notre Dame by having during a win.
Just starting rumors.
Kelly Stafford.
I'm gonna put a body on one of those Kellys. I promise you.
Oh my God.
Should we move on to a couple more listener questions, and then we'll do a Big 12 head coach power rankings? I think will be a fun topic of conversation. I think the first one here, and this isn't really a question, it's a statement from Scott Wildcat. I want you all to have a single woman between the ages of 24 and 34 DM me on Twitter or Instagram. Shout out to Scott Wildcat. I don't really have a whole lot of single women that I know between the ages of 24 and 34, but if I find one, I will send them your direction, Scott.
I've been putting his Twitter handle in people's mailboxes. I mean, he might have some 60-year-old lady message
from Crow
him.
City, Ohio.
He wants it. That's all I can provide you, brother. So if you get a random DM from Ohio, just know they're probably on my route somewhere.
I'll just
go ahead.
I'll just add that if I had one to give to Scott, I would probably be taking that
Eskimo
as a single. No. No.
I'm not giving Scott Wildcat anything. I'm not giving him a single thing. He's not. You think I'm doing him a favor? Absolutely not.
I like this one from our boy Dolly Drama, UCF fan. He was our guest for the UCF preview last year. Summer 2024 plans. What do you have planned for summer 2024?
Yeah, no, I think I'm going to absorb as much of Chicago summer as I really can. Which is really fun because I think this is the best summer city in the world. If anybody hasn't been to Chicago or doesn't really visit, I would come here during the summer, go to a Cubs game. A lot of fun of that. Going to DC as well to visit my old stomping grounds. If you've ever heard of Mackinac Island is an incredible place. My favorite place in the entire world. There's no cars. It's only horse and buggy. It's really awesome. I love being there. Going to Lollapalooza, so I'm going to dance my brains out. Drink a lot of things. And then, so it's going to be really chill summer. I'm just going to enjoy the nice water and the beaches. How about you guys?
Send me some fudge.
Oh,
Mackinac
absolutely.
Island fudge. Give it up.
Yeah. And I'll do a mystery fudge too. You don't know what it's going to be.
That's dangerous.
That's actually on Chef's resume, mystery fudge. That's like his... Sorry, that was bad.
That's my burner, by the way.
Mystery fudge.
Then my new band. I'm gonna just make a band called Mystery Fudge.
No, oh my God,
I'm ready.
Well, I'm gonna enjoy my summer in Texas. I moved down here for the hot weather, and so I'm gonna be going to the pool all the time and playing golf and just enjoying everything that there is about Texas, which is a great state. And here in the Midwest, Chef.
I'm gonna be working. Pool's gonna be open in a little bit, and I got a vacation lined up for somewhere in North Carolina, some little chain of islands. I can't remember what they're called.
Outer Banks.
Outer Banks. Yep, that one.
Oh.
Nice.
Have you watched the Netflix show? It's like a documentary about the Outer Banks. You should watch.
Is that the one where they're in Arkansas and Bateman kills people and stuff?
No, that's Ozark. I'm not close at all.
Also, Chicago tie-in with Ozark. I'm actually going to Austin this weekend, so not quite summer in Texas, but better than summer in Texas because it won't be 100 degrees, which will be fantastic. I will also be going to Lake Okoboji, Iowa in July, which is a fabulous place to go during the summer. Beautiful, the Great Lakes of Iowa. And it's about 12 miles from Minnesota. So we can just consider that Minnesota instead of Iowa.
Is that the Midwest? Are we just going to discuss every state
if it's
considered the Midwest or not?
It's about as Midwest can get.
Chef probably thinks Idaho is the Midwest.
I mean, is that West or what is that then?
I'm not even West at this point.
Yeah, what is your idea of Midwest? Like, what would you consider the heart of the Midwest?
Kansas.
Ohio?
You're an idiot. Please. Yo, Kyrie, we got Kyrie Irving over here. Doesn't know how to read a map.
I've also retweeted some terrible books too, but whatever.
Just Google the U.S. description of what the Midwest is, and it will tell you how many states are included in it and where it is. And it goes from Ohio to Kansas, north to North Dakota, and everything in between, which is the most accurate, in my opinion. The next question comes from, let's go to Ryan Moss at PowerCat Ryan. It's been raining all day in Manhattan, but nobody is in town soaking. Was that one of your deciding factors in your recruitment? At Robbie.
Absolutely not. Because while I was a BYU fan, I don't think I held to the standards of what BYU desires from a lot of people there. For many things, you know, I like to drink. I like to drink coffee as well. So I didn't necessarily follow the rules of most BYU fans, but no shot at BYU. An amazing fan base. I do think that they are in the Big 12. I think they're a top 3 fan base. They're incredible. But yeah, definitely I would say culture-wise, I don't know if I necessarily fit the bill of BYU, if anybody can read between the lines there.
That makes sense. That makes sense. The next 3 questions come from at ZZ
I'm on a podcast called Cocaine Willie. You think I'm a BYU fan?
Rank the Big 12 mountain ranges. He listed out the Wasatch, the Front Range in Colorado, the Flint Hills in Kansas, and the Appalachians in West Virginia. I'm also going to throw in, there are 2 other schools that are completely missing here. The Phoenix Mountains in the Four Peaks area around Phoenix, and the Tucson Mountains near Arizona in Tucson.
This may be a question for most of you guys. The only one I've been to is the one in West Virginia and the one in Tucson. Everything else I am not necessarily familiar with, and that's why I'm really happy I will be visiting Kansas and a lot of other places this fall, because I need to do my Big 12 tour. It's actually funny. I worked in the Big 12, like covering it for 4.5 years. The only states I've been in the Big 12 is West Virginia and Texas and Florida now. But besides that, I'm really haven't been anywhere. So this is my time to now explore everything.
Man, I don't know. The Front Range is kind of hard to beat. I mean, the Flint Hills are nice, but then you realize, you know, in the grand scheme of things, they are hills, and they do look beautiful in pictures. But you know, Colorado does kind of have the allure of the mountains, and I mean, I hate the snow, but the hiking and all that type of stuff. And I think of mountains, I think of that area, so that would be my pick.
Yeah, I've only dealt with the Flint Hills and the Appalachians, and if they're anything like those, I don't really particularly care for being up real high. Your ears start popping, all that stuff. Water takes a while to boil. Not a real good time. So, not for me.
As a frequent boiler of water, it doesn't take as long as you think it takes. Here in the Front Range, I would rank the Front Range first. I would put probably, honestly, Flint Hills second. I love the Flint Hills because it's near and dear to me. Wasatch, really hard to beat. I'm going to go with I've never been to the Appalachians, so I can't say that. I just can't rank it very high at all. Okay, vodka cran pineapple. Interesting choice there.
Not a sponsor. Not a sponsor.
No, I'm going Four Peaks next, Tucson, and then Appalachians. Just because I've never been there, I can't speak to it. So the next question from Zach, besides Okie State, which could be deemed offensive by calling them Okie State by some, which Big 12 fan base are you most likely to be friendly with?
Not Cincinnati. Fuck
Texas
them.
Tech for me.
Wait, not be friendly with, or be friendly with?
To most likely to be friendly with.
Oh, it's BYU. BYU is the friendliest to friendly people. They are not mean people. So, like, everybody should be choosing them. But besides them, I think everybody here is kind of an asshole in this fan, like in the Big 12. Like, West Virginia fans, they can be nice, but if you're against them, they want to kill you.
Yes, that's where I was going to go. I was going to go Morgantown, West Virginia. I like the Mountaineers. They're real nice people. Even when you beat them, even when you lose to them, I've never had a bad experience. And in all actuality, I demonized them when I first had that interaction with them. I thought they were going to be, a bunch of hillbillies, and they weren't that. They were really nice, cordial people, and they gave me some boundaries. Unlike Cincinnati Bearcat fans, fuck them.
Wow. I was just thinking, like, of all these schools, and I'm like, I don't like any of them, except Oklahoma State. So I'm gonna go with UCF. Here's why. Like, I'm sure Dolly Drama can attest, like kind of a younger fan base, right? Younger fan base. They're going to like to party. Like they're a fan base that I think as they get older, they're going to travel. They're going to be like big into the Big 12 thing. So I'm going to say UCF because it's kind of a process of elimination for the 14 other schools for me. There's a reason why I think I hate all of them, but I don't really have a reason to hate UCF right now. So we're going to go with that.
I have to throw in one as well, and I do like that pick. That was one I was thinking of. The other one I was thinking of, TCU, and not because I don't necessarily know them very well.
Nope, get them out of here.
I don't know how many TCU fans there are. Like, I feel like I'm pretty in touch with every online fan base. I don't know how many TCU fans they have, just because the school's not very large. I don't know if you're picking a school in Texas. Where does TCU rank in there? So TCU fans, just because I don't know who they are really at all.
Fair enough.
They suck. They are not great individuals.
You go to a
game there, an away game, and they want to murder you for no reason.
There were a lot of stories of like actual glass beer bottles, because their stadium sells glass beer bottles, being thrown at other fans and also onto the sideline, like the opposing visitor sideline.
Oh, cool.
Which is just really, really messed up. Like, why is any stadium selling glass beer bottles in 2020?
When everybody else zigs, they zag. They're like, we can't put bottle caps on these beers, but let's give them glass so they can shake each other.
Yeah. The last question from Zach. Thoughts on the Iowa State fan debacle last week, and should we build a border wall to protect the surrounding areas from the lunatics of Iowa?
Yeah, this needs to be a question I think you guys need to tell me. What should I be afraid of from Iowa State fans? Because I feel like, even though I feel like you guys should hate Kansas more, I feel like online you guys have more beef with Iowa State. I don't know
online,
if that's correct or not, but
online, that rivalry was born online. It didn't really exist, even though we've been playing them for over 100 years. It didn't really exist until the internet existed and like message boards and Twitter and crap. But last week, the former kicker for Iowa State, what's his name, Grant Mahoney, tweeted something at Brian Anderson, who's our running backs coach, and said something along the lines of like, why is a coach tweeting something this immature at one of our, like at a fake listicle that was made. There was a listicle that was made that was like top 5 returning quarterbacks in the Big 12. And it didn't have Avery Johnson on it. And Rocco Beck was the second person listed on the listicle, but didn't have numbers on it. And Avery Johnson's number is number 2. So Brian Anderson's tweet said, haha, number 2 on it. So this former kicker for Iowa State freaks out thinking that this is a tweet about Rocco Beck, and says, oh, it's so immature that you're tweeting at players and you're a coach on an opposing team. This is absolutely unacceptable.
Everybody got mad at Dion for doing it. This is the exact same thing. Blah, 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 blah.
He got
they actually said that.
So bad.
They're it's the most sensitive fan base. It really is, because some of their best like Twitter personalities just go absent for so long that they have like actual people that don't know how to work Twitter. It's so sad that they're just like so soft about the most ignorant things ever, and they just lose every battle. They put their foot in their mouth so many ways, so many different possible ways. It never ends with them. They're Charlie Brown, as my boy Scott Wildcat would say. They're those Charlie Brown motherfuckers can't ever find a way to get out of their own way.
Oh my God. So that's it from Zach. The last couple questions I'll and then we'll get into the power rankings. King Joel 3, Joel Alderson, friend of the show. Tell Robbie that I will not accept his application for fanhood until the tattoo is permanently attached to his body.
Well, we have a surprise, and at the end, I will showcase that surprise. Okay, so right before we leave, I will showcase something.
So if you're one of the 276 people watching this right now, you got to stay till the end. And if you are watching, subscribe to us on YouTube and like the video. Do us a favor. It helps us more than you could ever possibly imagine. The last question I'm going to go to here, and this comes from Nordy Jelson. Who is Robbie's least favorite Jayhawk of all time?
Oh man, that's a really good
There's
question.
so many to choose from.
Great question.
Twitter wise, who's that guy that said Will Howard sold insurance?
Oh,
That's
Bri-
Bri.
Oh,
Bryce
man.
right.
When I saw that clip, I swear I watched it maybe 200 times. That is the funniest thing that's like one of the funniest rants just like ever. Just like this person who has put Kansas in his back pocket his entire career. It's just like, you should be selling insurance. Okay. That guy's hilarious and needs to get a life. Besides then, man, I'm just going to pick on Dietrich Lawson just because that era, that was one of the worst Kansas teams I've ever seen. And he should not have been as good. But in terms of hateable Kansas players, I think you guys need to fill me in on that just because, my hatred to Kansas doesn't necessarily exist. Oh, Hunter Dickinson, actually. He's my least favorite human of all time. So even though that's recent, Hunter Dickinson is a total dweeb. And as a Michigan State fan in the past, he was the absolute worst, and I hated him very much. So to see him this year flopping everywhere, it just made my blood boil. But I need your guys' pick on this.
Oh man, what Kansas 3-point specialist should I name now? Brady Morningstar, Tyrell
Lightfoot.
Reed. Oh my God,
Mitch Lightfoot for totally different reasons.
yeah.
He never accomplished anything. He had to sell all his memorabilia, and he still he still goes hard on Twitter, which I respect that, but he's not in this category because he never accomplished anything.
Yeah, he didn't do anything to
on
hurt you guys. He was just a weirdo.
For
Todd Reesing,
Cole Aldrich.
Withy.
Oh my God.
Who was the guy that took all the steps?
Oh, Svi Mikhailuk. Boston Celtic legend.
For me, realistically, the guy that I hate him so much is Perry Ellis. One, because it was so hard to beat Perry Ellis, and those teams we never seemed to beat him. And he played there for 150 years. So you just constantly had to see his hairline receding farther and farther back every year. It just was no fun to watch.
It was definitely no fun to watch. I guess like an honorable mention would be Connor Frankamp. He's just that dude pissed me off so much too.
But nobody in football either.
He's known more so for being a Wichita State guy than a KU guy, but he was at KU for a season, then transferred back to Wichita State. It's just, oh my God.
Do you guys hate Jalen Daniels?
No,
I think he's made of glass. I don't hate him. I think he's got
just easy to dunk on him. Okay, that makes sense.
He's never. The problem is that he's
never play a full season.
He's a solid player. He's never accomplished anything, and they want to compare him to anybody possible because the one preseason they named him preseason player of the year. That's his only accomplishment is a preseason award,
and
which is
preseason last season too.
That's what I'm saying. So there's really nothing to hate on because the only times I've ever seen him play. He's throwing across the field to our cornerback to walk in for the easiest pick six of all time. It's so sad.
The highlight tape as a chain was a bold move, but he's not really a trash talker, so that makes a lot of sense. But that move, I had a lot of people at Big 12 Media Day when I was still at SiriusXM. They were like, "That is wild," and then he was hurt the whole year, so it wasn't a good look.
All right, should we get into Big 12 football coaching power rankings?
Let's rank these things.
I'm in.
Oh my God, who wants to go first? I've got my list, but if someone else feels
we have to go through the whole. We have to go through all 16 right now.
Let's just go through who you have ranked first, and then we'll go, coach by coach. And if as we kind of get through the list, it'll discussion will get less and less.
I honestly couldn't tell you 8 through 16 is probably not going to be good for me.
Glad that you did your homework, Chef.
He could barely get his headphones plugged in for the first 5 minutes. What do you expect from him?
Chill out on me. Chill out.
All right.
Okay. My number one
first.
My number one. I think you have to go with, for as long as he's been in the Big 12, for as much as he's accomplished, I think you have to go Mullet. I think you have to go Gundy. And I don't want to do it. But he's got the personality. He's stayed loyal to the Big 12. He's won. He's been in the conference championship a ton, and it's got to be Gundy.
Oh, I mean, I'm actually going to go. I'm not picking him first. I am picking Kyle Whittingham out of Utah. I think from a sustainability of a program perspective, you have to look at how successful he was in the Pac-12. I mean, Pac-10, Pac-12. He's built a consistent program that has gone to, BCS bowls, now New Year's Six bowls. He's won the conference. I think it's a program that also does a little more with less, and kind of has a little bit of, you're going up against in the Pac-12, USC, UCLA, Oregon. I mean, these big time schools in the West Coast, and Utah is always consistently at the top. And quite frankly, if Kyle Whittingham wasn't the coach at Utah right now, are people picking Utah to win the Big 12? I really think there's a part of it that is the proven program builder that he's been there. He's going to walk in and do the same thing. So I'm actually going Kyle Whittingham as for number one.
No, that's actually a really good pick. He was my number 2 on my list, but I think that makes a lot of sense. And let's say it wasn't Kalen DeBoer who left for Alabama. It was Kyle Whittingham. In a weird hypothetical world, I think we'd be having the same, we would be saying that Utah is not a top 5 team this year. So I do agree with you in that. But my number 1 is Mike Gundy. I think he's the most underrated coach in college football. Maybe you can say maybe ever. Now, there's a conversation to be had there. But he hasn't won, or he hasn't lost. No, wait, no. He hasn't won less than 7 games since 2004. That was his first year. So every single year since his first year as a head coach, he's made a bowl game. And that is a program in the same state as Oklahoma. So every single year, he basically got a spanking to Oklahoma. And we know where the top recruits are going. They're going to Oklahoma. And he still does this. He's so consistent. He's made true pros. And I think in the new Big 12, he's only going to keep getting better. Mike Gundy is incredible at his job. I can't believe this year their over-under win total is 7.5. You should hammer that. Every single year, if it's 7 or around that number, you should be going higher because Mike Gundy, he just wins. He just wins. He needs to win the whole thing, but Mike Gundy's a winner. So give me Mike Gundy.
I like the Gundy pick, and I've got Gundy as number 1 too. And I also like the pick of the over on his win total, because I was talking to Cal from the CGA Tour, which is the Oklahoma State podcast on the College Huddle, a couple weeks ago on the Big 12 College Huddle show. And we were talking about, Gundy's floor is essentially 7 wins the entire time he's been at Oklahoma State for the most part. So he's been incredibly consistent. To Robbie's point, he recruits great talent to Oklahoma State in a state where you're competing against Oklahoma. And not to mention the surrounding area. You're also competing for guys from Kansas with Kansas and Kansas State. You're competing for guys in Texas with all of those Texas schools as well. And one thing I think is interesting, and I don't know, there's been a whole lot of discussion on it. You've got the two most tenured coaches in FBS Power 5 football in the Big 12 with Mike Gundy and Kyle Whittingham, which is interesting. So you got a lot of experience between the two of them. So I like the pick on Gundy. He's who I have at number 1. Who do you all have at number 2? Maybe we'll do this like snake draft style, and I'll start with my number 2. I've got Chris Kleiman at number 2. There's a lot of recency bias here, but one of the things I took into account in looking at the top 2 at least was winning Big 12 championships. And Kyle Whittingham has won Pac-12 championships. So I maybe should have considered that a little bit more when I was going into my formula here. But I went with Chris Kleiman at number 2, strictly because he has been incredibly consistent, very similar to Gundy. He has outside of the COVID season, his floor is 7 wins at Kansas State. And more often than not, it's going to be at least 8. So I feel really good about K-State's direction as a program under Chris Kleiman. And he also has the pedigree of winning the national championships that he's won at North Dakota State. He's taken that and translated that to Power 5 football in a way that a lot of people have not been able to do in the past. Cough, cough, Deion Sanders, who's very low on my list. I'm going to throw it to Robbie, and we'll just go reverse order, reverse snake draft for the rest of this.
Yeah, I tipped my pick. I said Kyle Whittingham. I don't think I have much to say about that. I think he has a track record. He comes in with 2 Pac-12 titles in the last 3 years, One of them was against a year with Caleb Williams as quarterback. I think that's pretty good. I think they walk in and they have a chance to win the Big 12 this year and basically every year until he retires. So give me Kyle Whittingham.
I'll go Gundy. Everybody said it. I mean, I don't have nothing else to add.
Then I'll have to take Chris Kleiman. I think it might be the bias in me, and he's actually got a conference title. His floor I think is insanely high in what he's done at Kansas State outside of the COVID season. Like Bob was saying, incredibly consistent, and he's a strong, well-rounded coach. Young too. I mean, kind of young. Whatever. It is what it is. Kyle Whittingham is going to be my third. I think everybody's talked on him. I think we're all going to be kind of similar with these top 5 picks, but we might have some surprises. But I got Kyle until he proves what he's done in the Pac-12. I have to put him below some of these Big 12 coaches.
Matt, you're next.
Yeah, I am next. I did go Chris Kleiman on this one. You take out the COVID year, which I think was crazy for a lot of programs. He's shown kind of this consistent development. Obviously, from a recruiting perspective, he's brought in the right coaches that have helped with getting some big recruits. Hoping that 2025, of course, brings in some really good local in-state talent too. But I mean, this really is like one of his best years, I think, to really capitalize on the new Big 12 with a team that may not necessarily even be groomed as good as what 2025 could bring. So,
yeah, my number 3, and I might hijack the podcast at this moment just because I want to have a conversation because it's the state of Kansas. My number 3 is Chris Kleiman, and I do think there is a legitimate conversation of like him or Lance Leipold. And I understand you may groan as a Kansas State fan, but I think we can all agree here. Kansas has a really good head coach. Lance Leipold is good at his job. I think turning that program into what it is now, which is actually somewhat respectable after being absolute dog shit for a really long time, I think that's really impressive. And I think they are making the investments needed. So I could say Lance Leipold's a really good coach. And they both are, I think, very similar, as in they've won national championships at other programs that aren't necessarily D1, and they've had success in other places. So I feel like they're very similar. I would give Chris Kleiman the edge because he's won a Big 12 title here, and we proved that he can be more consistent. But I feel like this is a good opportunity to discuss, the state of Kansas has some incredible head coaching right now with those two. And I feel like if they are here for the long run, it may give Kansas State fans more anxiety when that rivalry game comes about. But I do think it is amazing for the state of Kansas to have those two head coaches battling each other for the next foreseeable future. So tipping my pick at number 4, it's Lance Leipold, but I do think those two head coaches are pretty close.
So
I have Leipold at number 3 as well.
I mean, but do you guys not take head-to-head into this consideration at all? Because I mean that separates him for me, especially anywhere in the stratosphere of Chris Kleiman.
That's fine. I think we all have Leipold listed behind Kleiman at this point, and head-to-head certainly goes into account for that. But my postulation with this was Leipold has done a really good job building that program up from what it was. When he first took over, he took over a absolutely decimated roster, no facilities, no fans that really gave a shit about KU football. And he's gotten fans back and interested in KU football in a way that they haven't been since the Mangino era. He has done a much better job of helping up-level their recruiting to where they're swimming in waters that they weren't in previous administrations, other than maybe Les Miles, who was good at recruiting some high caliber players here and there, but sucked as a head coach because he had dementia. So Leipold's done a phenomenal job with KU's program. And because of that, I have him in this top 4. I think he's a great coach, and Robbie hit on all the right points, I think, with Leipold, and I think he deserves to be in that top quarter of the Big 12 when we're looking at quality of coaches, body of work of what they started with and what they've done with that program from there. I'm going to be speaking out of both sides of my mouth when we get to Sonny Dykes, but I'll hand it back over to Robbie for his.
I just want to say, I just want to say one more thing about it. I think it's a testament to how good the coaches are in the state when rumors of Lance Leipold leaving Kansas, like K-State fans are like, oh man, like that would be great. And vice versa when, you hear like just little rumblings about, potentially climbing, like, is he in the running, is he being looked at this school, et cetera, like Washington. And KU people are like, oh my God, yeah. Like, I think that's just a testament to the fact that like we do have really great coaches and, I would love to see Leipold get out of the Big 12. I mean, I'm just being honest. The issue that I'm going to find this year is you lose an offensive coordinator, which was really a big piece of how KU has improved. Yes. And he goes to Penn State. You bring in a guy who is he going to have some of that creativity and using Jalen Daniels and different ways? I mean, it remains to be seen. I think this year is going to be kind of a little bit of a test because they've had some personnel losses that make you think there could be a little bit of a decline on the offensive end.
No, definitely. And if Jalen Daniels goes down, which I'm just going to guarantee, there's going to be a game where Jalen Daniels does not play football. This is something that's going to happen. There's no Jason Bean there, so that's also a good thing because even though like he's not the highest caliber, like every time he was in, I was like, oh, he can do something. He can run. He's fast. He did track and stuff. So no, I agree with a lot of things you guys are saying. And as much as like you guys are saying you want him to leave, I understand because like you want to beat Kansas every year. I hope he stays just because I think the rivalry between those two, like when I was a Michigan State fan, like having D'Antonio and you have Harbaugh at the same time, it was incredible. Even though I hated it every year because like I wanted my team to win and Michigan would win. Like that was awesome. But number 4 is Lance Leipold. He's done a great job.
Is it me or go ahead, Matt?
It's me. I actually didn't pick Leipold at 4. I picked him at 5. I went with Gus at 4. I mean, I don't know. This is kind of a projective pick because number one, the way UCF is recruited this cycle really makes me think they are number one. They're going to be a sleeper for the Big 12 this year. Very glad that we don't have to touch them in the regular season, but they're going to be a really good program in the Big 12 for years to come. The way that they're picking up transfers, they're recruiting well in the state of Florida. They are a scary program, which I kind of expected was going to happen. And I think Gus is a very, very good coach, despite, some of the times at Auburn, et cetera. At the end of the day, I mean, he's a very, very, very solid coach. So I'm actually putting him at 4 and Leipold at 5.
Well, me and Matt are going to have, somewhat similar lists because I'm also going with Gus at 4. And, similar to the Sonny Dykes thing, I think he's in the opposite direction of what Sonny Dykes did. Coming off of a national championship, his program is regressing. Gus Malzahn has a national championship appearance in his back pocket at all. Well, did he win it? Yeah, he won it at Auburn. So a national championship winning coach. Can he do it again at UCF? I don't know if he can get to national championship level, but he can raise that. He's a great talent acquisitioner. My guy, Gus Malzahn, I think he's got a leg up being a solo Florida guy. And then for 5, I'm not going Lance Leipold. I'm going Joey McGuire, Texas Tech. I think also a great talent acquisitioner because I love that word. I'm going to say it again. Acquirer, it doesn't matter. Who cares?
I like that. Acquisitioner is good. I'm an acquisitioner. Hey.
Yeah. Acquisitioner, Joey McGuire, Texas Tech. I think they're a program on the rise. Watch out. You talked about Gundy hammering the over. Hammer Texas Tech over.
This is where all of our picks are going to get so different. We're going to be off the rails now. Matt, who do you have at number 5?
I had Leipold at 5. I already
Okay.
explained why, so we're
Yeah.
good.
Robbie, who you got?
My number 5, I can't believe you guys have been bashing him a little bit. He did go to a national championship game recently. Give me Sonny Dykes. Understand that he inherited a great roster from what Gary Patterson had. I understand that he had Garrett Riley. Oh, we have a walk-off. We have Garrett Riley, who was an amazing. He won the Broyles Award that year for best assistant coach. But Sonny Dykes, he went to a national championship game. I understand last year wasn't the best. I trust him at TCU, able to recruit there. I like Sonny Dykes. I think he does a good job. Give me number 5, Sonny Dykes. Can't you tell how confident I am? Sonny Dykes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't expect that name to be said.
Wait, is this a controversial take? Uh-oh.
I don't know. I don't know. Also, I don't know if I said number 4 or not. Number 4 for me was Kyle Whittingham. But, top 4, pretty much everybody had everybody in the top 4, basically the same. And then that, 4 is where it gets a little dicey. Then I've got number 5. I've got Neil Brown, because the guy went from hot seat to not seat last year. And West Virginia's back, baby. West Virginia's back.
That's the power of winning. You win one season, go to a bowl game. It's like, oh, he's great. That's the power of winning, everybody.
He got Mayo dunked on him. That dude is riding high right now. West Virginia's not thinking about him on the hot seat whatsoever. They're more concerned about basketball at this point, but I think Darian DeVries is pretty good. But yeah, that's my 4 and my 5. I give my 6 now, I guess, right? So number 6, I've got Matt Campbell, because he only plays. Here's the deal with Matt Campbell. Yes, he always plays to have the greatest together team of all time. That is his goal. His goal is not to win Big 12 championships. We have well established that at this point. But when your goal is to have the greatest together team, you're at least relatively consistent. And even if you have a team that's returning from a Big 12 championship appearance and you come short in a season where you're returning all of your starters, including a, first day, second day pick at running back, you only win 7 games, that's fine. If your average is 7 games, that's pretty much where Matt Campbell has you. And I think that's pretty good. And for, 6th best coach in a 16-team conference, 7 wins seems kind of 7-8 wins. Strive for 9 in a good year. I feel like Matt Campbell's kind of in that next tier, right? He's in that next tier. He's consistent. He's going to get you to a bowl game. You might win the bowl game. You might get boat raced by Memphis. Who knows? You never know what's going to happen.
Consistently bad gets you, top 6 in Bob's poll.
Look at the rest of the names on the list, dog. Robbie, who you got at 6?
I'll save my Matt Campbell slander for later. Because even though I just became a Kansas State fan, I've always hated Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell hate runs through my heart. I do not like that man. Number 6, I'm going Gus Malzahn for the list, everything we talked about before. And also his name's Gus. What a sick name. His name's Gus. Like, I don't know if you can be born a Gus. Like, I feel like you have to reach a certain age and then you become Gus. Like, if you're Go ahead.
I'm watching a show on Netflix called Love, and the main character's name is Gus. And I feel like they're kind of in a similar vein.
How old is that? Because I feel like you can't be 10 years old and named Gus. I feel like you have to be over 40.
He was born a Gus, but he probably has autism, so he's like on a spectrum of like a 60-year-old man.
Is that literally what you're watching? Is Love on the Spectrum? Is that what you're
No,
watching?
I do. I like that show as well, but this show is called Love, just Love.
Wow.
And we just got shadow banned again.
Yeah.
What is Gus short for? What is Gus
Gustav? Well, for him it's Gustavo, but I had a basset hound when I was a kid, and his name was Gustav. We called him Gus.
Wait, his name is Gustavo Malzahn?
Arthur Gustavo Malzahn III.
No, his name is Arthur.
He's not talking about more. Gustavo?
Gustavo?
His name is Arthur Gustavo Malzahn III. So there are 2 Arthur Gustavo Malzahns that came before him.
What a wild name. That needs to be projected way, way more. My 6 is Matt Campbell. I do hate this pick, but in reality, you look at kind of some of the output he's put together. It makes sense. He's been in the Big 12 for so long. It has to account for something. I'm going Matty C.
You're a sick boy for following, Bob into those depths because I could never do it. For me, my sixth, I'll give Lance Leipold. I'm not going to give him any accolades or anything like that, but it was a tough pick to put him at six. But seven, right on his coattails, Willie Fritz. I mean, the guy was a dog at Tulane. I mean, an absolute dog at Tulane. Can he reproduce it at Houston? It's going to be tough. But if there's a coach that could do it and he puts the fear of God into Kansas State fans, Willie Fritz, seven. Max, actually flip it. I'm going to put Willie Fritz at six, and I'm going to put Lance Leipold at seven.
I love that you put someone who hasn't even played a Big 12 game yet as a head coach ahead of Lance Leipold.
You guys, we literally put Kyle Whittingham in our top.
A guy who's won multiple conference titles in his respective conference, which was also a Power 5 conference at the time.
I mean, Willie Fritz is pretty good.
Although I love the hate and the heart you have for Kansas, because there's no way if Lance Leipold was at Houston, you would have him that low. I love the hate.
What has Lance Leipold done? What has he done?
Oh my God. Yo, we're gonna get shadow banned because of this. Like, this is slander.
I'm gonna slander his name. What has he done?
Oh no.
Bookmark it.
At Chef Andre Napier for everybody listening. Hope he gets.
Yeah, you're gonna be in Mike Vernon's newest
clowned.
Yeah.
Scoopsmeister.
Yeah.
Matt, who you got?
After Campbell, I had Neil Brown. And this is another one that I'm not super thrilled about this pick, because in reality, Neil Brown did have one good year, and I feel like he has to improve even this year, which he has a chance to, because Garrett Green, great quarterback. At least I think he's a great quarterback. So I'm going to go Neil, not just from last year, but his time at Troy, also leading that program.
For number 7, I had Willie Fritz as well. That was a great pick by Chef. I just think he's won recently, and I was debating him and Joey McGuire, and I think Willie Fritz gets the edge there. 1, because he's won more games, and 2, I believe the ceiling is going to be higher at Houston. That's a team, and that's a school down the line in the next 5 years I really think is going to do some damage, just because recruiting-wise, the footprint that they have, and also he's a really good head coach, even though I just found out he is 64. I didn't realize he was that old of a fart, but let's hope he sticks for the next 5 years as well, because he's a really good head coach and he knows how to win. So give me Willie Fritz at number 7.
Willie Fritz is at number 7. Moving on to number 7, I've got Sonny Dykes from TCU. Again, I didn't love the drop-off that TCU had from year 1 to year 2 under Sonny Dykes. He also lost Lincoln Riley's brother, Garrett Riley, at offensive coordinator. I'm curious to see if Lance Leipold losing Kotelnicki as offensive coordinator, if there's going to be a similar thing that happens there from this year to next year. As far as losing your offensive coordinator, you lose a lot of that offensive identity. Garrett Riley was a good recruiter too, and Kotelnicki was as well. So again, kind of bringing it back to Leipold, it's going to be fascinating to see how they do this year in a different offense with a offensive coordinator who came from Baylor, who did not do well at Baylor at all over the last couple of seasons outside of his first year when they went to the Big 12 championship. So Sonny Dykes, I got him right here kind of in the middle of the pack at number 7. I've also got Gus Malzahn at number 8, ranked behind Sonny Dykes. I think Dykes, although I have my qualms with him, has more of a track record of success in the Big 12 so far than Gus Malzahn has had in the Big 12 so far. Granted, Gus Malzahn, to Matt's point earlier, has done a great job recruiting this offseason. KJ Jefferson's going to be a really good quarterback for them, and they're going to be a sneaky good pick. I think they're getting the Texas Tech treatment this year as the dark horse that Texas Tech got last year, that K-State got the year before that. So Texas Tech didn't deliver on it last year. I think UCF can deliver on it. And again, Matt, I think you mentioned this earlier. I'm really glad we don't play them in the regular season this year because 1, we beat them last year, and 2, because of that, they would have some salt and a chip on their shoulder going into that matchup. So those are my 7th and 8th picks. Robbie, who you got at 8?
You took one of the takes I was going to have that I forgot to mention, but dark horse of the year is UCF. So that's a great pick on your end. My number 8 pick is Joey McGuire because when I met him at Big 12 Media Day, I fell under the gaze of his beautiful eyes. And he gave me the greatest handshake I've ever had in my life. And he was so infectious. And there was no other thing you could do but believe this man and know he's going to do a great job. And I think that is being seen on the recruiting trail. He is such an incredible recruiter. And we also saw what he did at Baylor. Like the amount of success that Matt Rule had at Baylor towards the end of his time there is because Joey McGuire develop this formula to recruit the perfect body type and then develop those up. And I feel like a lot of
real life Coach Taylor from Friday Night Lights. When you think about his resume and what he's done,
it's incredible. And like I will say, like if you are with him, you will get the hype for anybody who is wandering around Lubbock, Texas, and happens to see him. But he's an incredible guy, and I trust him. I think a lot of the bad luck that he's had has been through injuries. I mean, like how many quarterback injuries has Texas Tech had over the last 5-6 years? It's that like Alan Bowman like broke, like his lung exploded. Like how is that possible? Like even like before Joey McGuire, like how is that possible? So I trust Joey McGuire. I trust him to get it done. Give me him at number 8.
Were his hands? He seems like a sweater. What were his hands sweaty? I bet they were moist at least.
It was like hugging the strongest pillow you've ever hugged, if that makes any sense. Like,
so he's got soft hands. He
very
lubricates.
firm
he lotions.
handshake. Like he grabbed my hand perfectly. Like I even thought I was limping a little bit, and he fixed it. He adjusted it really well. So he has firm hands, but like it's like a hug. So I don't know how to explain him. I feel like I'm into Joey McGuire. I feel like I'm into
You described it pretty good. I want to hug his hand.
You should hug his hand if you ever get the opportunity.
Wow.
Yeah, him number 8. Good guy.
Did I pick him? No, I didn't. I was putting this together. Once you get to like 7, it's just a lot of mid to me. Is that that's what the young people say now? Mid?
Battle of the mids, baby.
It really is. Like I feel like there's a lot of opportunity. You could battle one coach versus another for one spot. I mean, I picked Sonny at 8 because he went to the national championship with TCU, even though he lost by 60 points. And so that's literally the only reason why. I mean, who's their starting quarterback going to be? Are we getting Chandler Morris again this year? Did they get somebody in the portal? Who knows? I mean, I don't know a lot about TCU. Everybody last year was
Josh Hoover, right? Josh Hoover's going to.
Oh, yeah, Josh Hoover. Okay. But everybody talked about last year. They picked up some really good transfers in the portal and didn't do much. And so I don't know. I just think Sonny's he's going to ride on that national championship performance for a bit. That's why I put him in 8.
Hey, you know what they say? Nothing sucks like a Hoover. But I'm going Matt Campbell for my 8th pick. I like Matt said, mid, just pure mid. There's nothing. I mean, you could smoke the mid, but this mid is just bad mid. And then for my 9th pick, who could climb because he's my Tongan brother, Kalani Sitake. Let's go. We took one of his recruits away from him. Shout out to Robbie Triano, new K-State fan. They're down 1 fan, and Kalani Sitake is a little sad about it, but he'll always be 9 in my heart.
Always be 9. Yeah, no, I didn't pick. I picked Willie Fritz at 9. Just think his Tulane programs really exceeded expectations. He's going to be really starting out kind of low with Houston. And it's going to be an interesting kind of battle to try and build that program out, not just with players, but I think relevance as a whole. That's just a program that they have a quarterback who I think I was high on Donovan Smith last year. I have receipts for this. I was high on Donovan Smith. I think he's a very solid Big 12 quarterback. I'm very interested to see who Fritz gets around him, not necessarily this year, but next few years, and if he can build Houston back up a little bit.
Yeah, my number 9 is Neil Brown. I've never rooted harder for a coach to not get fired. Neil Brown is an incredible guy. Working with him at Big 12 Radio, just a really, really smart dude who couldn't win, and then he won, and that's really good for him. That's also the power of winning. Like I mentioned earlier, he was on the hot seat every single year for the last 3 years, and then he won. Correct. Congrats, Neil Brown. You're number 9.
Number 9 for me, I've got Kalani Sitake. Chef already mentioned him. He is, I feel like, the kind of guy who can be set up for success in the Big 12 moving forward. BYU has kind of that national recruiting base, being part of the LDS church and everything. And I just think we need to see more from him. We've seen some good flashes. They had the moment where they beat Arkansas last year, on the road, if I'm not mistaken, in Fayetteville, which is not an easy task for any team, no matter how bad Arkansas is. Those fans are rabid, pig people. So I'm going to go with Kalani Sitake at number 9, just because I think he could be set up for success if he plays his cards right. But I also think he has a long leash there. He's been kind of average there. He hasn't had like a real great, phenomenal season there with 9-10 wins. It doesn't seem like yet, but they give him a long leash. He's got a national recruiting base. They just got elevated to the Big 12 and Power 5 status for the first time. So I think they could do a lot there, but we just need to see more. And the next one, similar thoughts. For number 10, I've got Joey McGuire, Texas Tech. I think he came into Big 12 play in his first year at Texas Tech with this massive headwind recruiting wise, where they at one point had a top 5 recruiting class in the 2023 cycle, I believe. And it just didn't quite pan out for him. I mean, again, the injuries are a problem. We've talked about that. The injuries at quarterback are never a good thing at Texas Tech since Patrick Mahomes, really. And I just haven't seen enough from Joey McGuire to think that he's in that top 8 or 9 even. So I need to see more. He had that dark horse status last year. He didn't quite meet the mark on it. And I think that says a lot. I think we need to see more from Joey McGuire before he can reach that next level or that next tier of Big 12 head coaches.
Those are 2 great picks. And Kalani Sitake, when I was making my visit at BYU, when I was, they made me soak. He was jumping on the bed, and we both got concussed because he jumped, and then we both flew. And he's a big man.
He's a big boy.
That never happened, by the way, but that'd be funny. That would be really funny if it did. Number 10. This may shock some people. I'm going to go Deion Sanders here because how many other coaches here have recruited the number 1 overall recruit in a class? Anybody? No, he did. Who has the ability to gain the most eyeballs out of any of these coaches here? It's Deion Sanders. We will all watch him on the toilet. We will watch anything Deion does because it's Deion. And I think when you have Oklahoma and Texas leaving the conference, Brett Yormark probably loves Deion Sanders probably the most out of any of these head coaches here, because this league needs eyeballs and it needs people to get people to watch Big 12 football. Deion Sanders is that person. Is he abrasive? Absolutely. Is he an asshole? Absolutely. Has he won? Not at all. But he recruits kind of, and he's going to get a lot of people watching. So give me Deion Sanders at number 10.
Oh my God. I was wondering who's going to put Deion up there first so I could just be in awe. I'll have my reasons for Deion in a little bit, but I picked Joey McGuire at 10. I think it's more of I think he has to prove some stuff this season, especially with the new look Big 12. I'm not saying he's going to get fired. He's not, but well, you never know these days. Anybody can get fired, but I do believe the way that he's been projecting Texas Tech and trying to build this program, the results should be there, at least showing a little bit of a maybe a mini resurgence towards the end of the year. I don't know. He's a guy who's proven himself, obviously didn't stay to Texas, and I believe he can build that program, but I don't believe if you go 6-6 this year, people are going to be feeling good about Joey McGuire in Lubbock. So I'm going to go with him at 10.
That's a good pick. I think you guys are criminally, putting him low on the list. I think it's kind of blasphemous because if you look at his track record compared to Lance Leipold, very similar. Anyway, I want to get on Robbie's train real quick about the Kalani Sitake thing. I think AI is going to do wonders when we clip that and have like a giant Tongan man jumping on a bed. It's going to be hilarious. But my next pick,
It was a waterbed too. Made
oh
it
my
worse.
God,
Popped
double
everywhere.
soaking everywhere.
Literally.
Neil Brown fighting for his life. Wow. I think it says a lot about your character when you're on death's door and you just keep clawing back. I think he did a good job at West Virginia. He's got a young quarterback. No matter what Matt says, I think Green is a fine quarterback. I think he's all right. And then my next pick, I'm right there with Robbie, man. Give me Neon Dion primetime, baby. I think, is he a good coach? No. Do I know anybody after this name? Only one more. So that's why Neon is there. Primetime is there because I don't love anybody else after him. And he's a minority coach, so I have to include him on the list.
Well, he's going to be on the list no matter what. It's just where you put him.
Still bottom half for you.
And Sitake's on the list.
He hasn't been on your list yet.
He's about to be. I picked him 11th because his record is mid. It's mid, and that's where we're at on these rankings right now. I almost want to go to 16 and just be like, who do we think is the worst coach in the Big 12?
I actually think we're going to be a consensus on that.
We're not, but
But
I think the 15 and 16 are a consensus. It's just which one is 15th and which one is 16th.
I think we'll be consensus.
Well, I'm looking at the outline, and I know we're not. Robbie, who do you have at 11?
My number 11 is Kalani Sitake. Everybody else behind him on this list is not very proven or good. And Kalani Sitake hasn't really won, but he has, I would say, established a culture. And that is something. So give me Kalani Sitake, even though he did break my waterbed and he needs to pay me for that. I spent a lot of money on that waterbed, Kalani.
And I bet your floor was soaking afterward.
Oh, yes.
Number 11, I have Willie Fritz from the University of Houston. I just think it's going to take him time to build something there. That's not to say when we go back and do this a year or 2 years from now that I'm going to have him ranked in that top quarter or top half of the Big 12. He's just got a program he needs to build. He's taking over from one of the worst hair dues I've ever seen on a coach ever in Dana Holgerson, and shout out to him. For those of you who are losing your hair, if you want to grow a mullet out, I'd say do it, but that should be your last legs if you're gonna have hair. For those of us who don't have hair right now, but yeah, I've got Willie Fritz at number 11. I just think it's going to take time. Number 12, I have Dave Aranda, a name that has not been mentioned yet, a name that a year ago, 2 years ago on this rankings list probably would have been top 4 and is now bottom 5 for most of us, if not all of us. How has he collapsed the way that he has? It's really wild to see the descent that he's had at Baylor. And it's not because of Grimes, because Grimes was there and he just fired him. He's gone through multiple defensive coordinators now. It's just baffling to see where they went from year 1 with Aranda and a lot of rules players at that point in time to year 4 now, year 3, year 4 with Aranda. I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Baylor with Aranda at the helm at this point. I think we need to see him have a very good year, make a good bowl game, get a big win in that bowl game, kind of like the Neil Brown formula for him to work his way up this list. But until that happens, I think this might be, if that doesn't happen, this is his last year at Baylor.
Yeah, no, to piggyback off that, I have Dave Aranda, number 12. And I remember covering the Big 12 2 years ago, 24/7 Sports, because list season is content season for us in the months of May and June. 24/7 Sports had Dave Aranda is the number 1 coach in the Big 12 at that time because Lincoln Riley was gone, and it had him again ahead of Mike Gundy and ahead of everybody else, which at the time we were like, all right, that's pretty stupid, but you know what? He deserved it. He just won a Big 12, and we could see what he did. He did what he did at LSU with that defense there. We saw it. I don't think a coach has fallen more and has been worse. And having listened to Dave Aranda press conferences, almost in full every week. I walk away every time thinking, what the fuck is this guy talking about? He sounds like he's on drugs every time. He's giving all of these like life lessons and stories, but also like at the pitch of this. And it's so strange. And it's like, he's such a weird human being. And he has openly admitted he doesn't like talking to people. And if you're a head coach of a team and your main job is to recruit, I think the number one thing you want to be good at is talking, or even a want to talk, or like an inch of like, hey, maybe I want to talk to another human being. I hate Dave Aranda. I can't believe I'm putting him 12, but he did win a Big 12, and everybody else on this list is not deserving whatsoever. So Dave Aranda, number 12. I ranted a little bit.
He's also a 12 for me. So next.
That's quick. I love your reasoning. Just thank you. Next, I'm going Sonny Dykes, national championship coach, close but no cigar. Got blown the fuck out, and he's done nothing since then. So Sonny Dykes, you're getting low on the list. Dave Aranda, same reasoning, bald, but not a sexy bald. He looks like he does jujitsu though, so maybe there's that.
Was that Giselle's jiu-jitsu instructor?
What was that Brazilian jiu-jitsu joke? He'll kick your ass and then eat your wife's ass? Was that?
Nope.
That was the joke. I think
Nope.
that was the Nikki Glaser joke.
That was a good try, though.
Nikki Glaser, phenomenal shout out too, by the way.
Yeah. No free ads. 13 is Dion for me. So he's one of the 4 worst coaches in the Big 12 for me. I'm looking at it primarily from his coaching ability right now. I just think what he was doing at Jackson State to build that program, it has made Colorado relevant. I guess you could take that as a win. But I struggle with how you're building a program and what this program is going to look like once your son leaves and Travis Hunter.
Will he be there?
Travis Hunter?
No. Dion.
Will next year. Yeah. And there's always that thing, but I don't see the Colorado roster. I don't see this team winning a ton of games this year. Albeit I'm always nervous for an away game. I'm always going to be nervous for that game in October, but I don't know. There's something about Dion. I think a lot of it's the show, and you could rank the show, but you're not really building a football program.
No, and to piggyback off that, like I do think Dion may retire from college football after this year. I feel like after his sons are out, it's like, what do I have to do? It's like, I'm really going to be around these kids that I hate and I talk so badly of. Yeah, he's not going to do that.
He's gonna jump back to TV, and he'll probably be on right next to Nick Saban, and he'll be talking shit about like what college football is, and it'll be a real big ticket. He'll probably be the most paid Fox guy ever, and it's gonna get people to watch to see his stories that he's gonna tell from his time coaching. It's gonna be a big ticket.
And if you are a sicko, just Google what his foot looks like.
Oh God,
it's not good looking.
Multiple amputated toes.
Don't ever put your feet on the internet for free. That's what my number one.
Yeah,
rule
and
is.
you got to be selling those things, man.
Also true.
No one's got feet like you. This is where it gets sicko hours, and I don't necessarily know. I haven't really done the research to really separate between 13 and 16. 16 I have marked down, and that's a pure hatred pick. Number 13, I know nothing about him, but he has a good team. Give me Brent Brennan, Arizona.
Brent Brennan is a good pick at 13. I've got Neon Dion at 13. Because of all the reasons everybody's already mentioned. I just don't see it happening there. I don't know. He's got great talent. I don't think the roster flipping is sustainable. I just long-term, you're trying to build a culture there. If you're trying to build a culture within a program and you're trying to not have your entire offensive line thrown under the bus in a press conference by your head coach, I don't know if that's a great recruiting tactic to have more offensive linemen come into your program who are good quality. Although they have done well this spring. They got the kid from Texas. I feel like the shine's going to wear off at some point. It's really shiny. It's still bright right now. How many 4-win seasons does it take before the shine wears off? We'll see. We'll find out. But I've got Dion at 13. I have Brent Brennan at 14. He's not really proven. We haven't seen him coach a game yet, really. So I don't know what to expect. It's going to be similar to what we've mentioned with Kotelnicki and KU. How much of an impact and a footprint did he have on the program prior to Jedd Fisch leaving, and how much of the program's identity was rooted in what Jedd Fisch had at Arizona? He did a damn good job retaining talent, which I think says a lot about his ability and being able to win over the locker room the way that he did. Keeping a guy like Noah Fifita in today's day and age is no small task, but we don't have any track record to go off of here. So he's number 14. Again, he could be like top 4 next season. And when we're doing this again a year from now, but that's where I'm at with Brent Brennan, which is that's like a used car salesman name.
Right. Great alliteration though. Brent Brennan.
Brent
Brennan just rolls off the tongue really nice. So he gets I do like that pick, and that's where I had him as well. Number 14, Kenny Dillingham. Know nothing about him, but I've looked up pictures of him. He looks like watered down TJ Otzelberger, who is definitely less jacked. He looks like a weird dude. I don't necessarily like him just by the look of him. I don't care about what he does on the field. I look at him, and he's got a punchable face. Kenny Dillingham, he's watered down TJ Otzelberger.
That's how I describe TJ Otzelberger, as a punchable face. Oh, man. We're around 14. I had Brent Brennan just because, again, I don't know much about him. And he's a guy that I think if he has a great year, yeah, he'll be much higher on the list. If he does not have a good year at Arizona this year, that's going to be kind of wild because with the talent they have on that team. But I think that's going to be a team that we are going to be very fortunate that we are playing them the 3rd week of the season and not week 9 or 10.
Man, you all make great points. I'm going to go Kenny Dillingham, punchable face or not, younger, punchable face. So I'm just going to keep going with that. That's where I have him. And then I'm going to go big ball and Brent Brennan. I'm just going to keep the alliteration going. He's also a Pisces, so he's not going to be last on my list. So you're lucky we're 2 days off on our birthdays. Brent Brennan is 15 for me.
Should we just have you do 16 because now it's obvious?
Scott Satterfield, fuck Cincinnati. That's obviously why I put him there.
I knew it. My 15 is going to be Dillingham. Now I'm just going to think of him as TJ Otzelberger the whole time. That's wild to me. Oh, no. And then I also had Satterfield at 16. I mean, he underachieved at Louisville, and Cincinnati hired him because Louisville was going to fire him, and Cincinnati thought that was a good move. I mean, that's kind of crazy.
Wild incompetence. That's the Cincinnati way.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think Satterfield is cut out right now in the Big 12. Cincinnati is just not a program. I think that's trending very well. So he's my 16 on this one.
My 15 is Scott Satterfield for the reasons you said. Watching Cincinnati football this year was I'd rather a lot of things than that, because I don't even have a joke to make because I hated watching them so much. It was just a terrible product of football, and just so sad because they had Luke Fickell and they were competing for a national title or in the college football playoff like 2-3 years ago. I don't know. Scott Satterfield. You fucking suck. I hate you. He's number 15 though. He's not my last pick.
Do you want to save your last pick or do you want to go for it now?
Yeah, I can do it now. Yeah, give me Matt Campbell, number 16. This is a pure hatred pick. Yeah, is he a better coach than a lot of these other people? Yeah. And if you have a team with Breece Hall and you have a team with Brock Purdy, you have these incredible pieces. You have the greatest team in the history of Iowa State football, and you only get 7 wins. You don't even make it to the title game. You absolutely lay an egg. You have one of the greatest college football teams that, like, in the Big 12 has seen in the last couple of years. You have Brock Purdy. Brees
And
Hall.
Xavier Hutchinson, they had multiple offensive linemen and defensive players that were drafted in the NFL draft that were starting last year.
You
You had the number one tight end in the conference.
Charlie Kolar as well. You have this incredible team and you absolutely lay a deuce. And then you have the balls to say, oh, we don't care about Big 12 titles here. It's like, are you serious? Like, you are a loser, Matt Campbell, if you have that type of mentality. Think of any great person, any great coach. Could you imagine Michael Jordan saying something like that ever? He would rather castrate his balls than do anything like that. So I hate Matt Campbell very much. Nobody has gotten more job offers for someone who doesn't deserve it. Oh, he's in the job from Michigan. Oh, he's in this job. Oh, why?
He doesn't have an agent.
Oh, yes.
Have an agent, Robbie.
He does have an agent. That's like also been like a qualifier. And then like I also found out through a lot of other sources, he does have an agent. He does have an agent. Like I just want everyone to know.
I think it's online. Like I think if you go to the CAA website, it lists who Matt Campbell's agent is. Like it's not private information.
Yeah, Matt Campbell has an agent, everybody. So everybody out there who says that. And also he came in last place. What was it? Last year? Not the year after last year. Great defense is awesome. Your offense sucks. I hate him very much. And also he refused to talk to the media forever like he's this god. Dude, you're a football coach in Iowa. Like, just talk to the media. I hate Matt Campbell with everything in me. He sucks. And I only wish the worst for him. So
all right,
that's my list.
I love your pick for number 16. This one was super hard because they both had the same record last year. They're both bottom of the barrel. They're both probably going to be finishing 15th and 16th in the Big 12 this year. It's Scott Satterfield and Kenny Dillingham. It's almost like 15A and 15B for me. It was hard for me to put one over the other. I have been clowning on Cincinnati fans for like 7 months now about Scott Satterfield, and it's hilarious because Bearcat Matt gets really upset about it. And I love Bearcat Matt, but he gets really, really angry when we talk shit on Scott Satterfield. But the dude sucks. He's a horrible head coach. Matt already mentioned it. The dude was going to get fired by Louisville, and Cincinnati decides to save the day and give him a job offer when he was already going to get fired from his previous position. And he had multiple opportunities against Oklahoma to win a game against Oklahoma when they opened up Big 12 conference play at home against an Oklahoma Sooners team that was having an off year, and found a way to like have zero presence on the Oklahoma side of the field when they made it to the Oklahoma side of the field multiple times throughout that game. And they end up losing that game 20-6. That was a microcosm for me of Scott Satterfield's ability or inability to coach football at a high level. So I have zero faith in them to win more than 3 games this season. And Kenny Dillingham, what are you doing? I don't know what he's doing. You lost out on Jaden Rashada to go be a backup at Georgia for starters. And it's just, I don't see it happening. I know Arizona State fans like him. I know he's kind of their native son for whatever. It's just, I don't see it happening. He's a grad assistant that, elevated to coaching status. I don't see it happening with him. But any final words from anybody? I know we've done a lot of time here tonight. We've got 536 people watching right now. If you are not following us on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube and like the video. It helps us a lot.
Please just do it. I mean, just
do it.
It's free. Don't even think about it. Just do it. You will never have to. Yeah, just do it.
Search Cocaine Willie. Damn it. Go subscribe, like the video, and it helps us out a ton. But final words from the group. Robbie, thank you a ton for joining us tonight, man.
What's the news?
Oh
yeah. Before we go,
we have a reveal. So, since becoming a fan, it's been kind of
drum roll.
I've been kind of getting over. All right, let's just do it. All right, ready? All right, 3, 2.
Son of
we just got Rick rolled.
We did just get Rick rolled. Well, for all of us here at Cocaine Willie, thank you for listening to the show. Like I already mentioned, if you're not already, please follow the show on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you're on the socials, and subscribe to us on YouTube, like the video, follow the shows on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and you can follow us individually. I'm at Bob Trollsby. Fireball Matt is at Matt Marchesini, and the good chef is at Chef Andre Napier. Also follow Robbie, who rickrolled us super, super well. He's at the Triano Kid. Chef, take us out.
Man, that was one hell of an episode. Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
We are all Coke and no joke. Wildcat Country.
Let's
Let's ride.
Subscribe.